Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Optima method. I just wanted to spend some time today talking about the RACI Matrix implementation training. So this is specifically hyper-focused on the RACI Matrix. If you don't know me, I'm Saskia Munn. I am a business consultant, operations specialist, SME in this area, really focused on how to hyper-focus on automation, business operations, and operationalizing to make your life simple. So what we're going to focus on today is just the RACI Matrix. There are other trainings that go into deeper content on different types of project timelines, but today we're focused on RACI. So in case you don't know what RACI stands for, it stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, or informed. So the letters RACI really describe the meaning of each one of those that I just described. If you see me looking down, I've got my notes here. I just want to make sure that I am spending good quality time with you, giving you the information you need to be more efficient in your roles in your personal life, but also being able to take away some of the key activities and tasks from this call, from this training, to be able to implement that in your today operations as well. So to talk a little bit more about the RACI Matrix, it's a responsibility assignment tool that clearly defines who's responsible for completing what task. So from a RACI standpoint, R, as I mentioned, responsible, performs the work. The person that is assigned to the letter A is accountable, owns the outcome, and approves completion. C is consulted, provides input before action is actually taken. And I is informed, receives updates after decisions are made. So in this training, the objective here is by the end of this session, I want you to be able to understand how to create, implement, and maintain a RACI matrix to improve accountability, communication, and operational efficiency. So the audience, it really can be for anyone, but if you are a business owner, department manager, team lead, project manager, operation professionals, this is for you. So I cannot wait to help clarify roles, improve accountability, and eliminate confusion. Because when we're working on projects, this happens all the time. When you're in a meeting, guess what? If there's no agenda, there's no true accountability, everybody walks away confused, not knowing who's responsible, who's accountable, who needs to remain informed, and who needs to help with any consultative feedback as well. So why organizations need a RACI matrix? Without role clarity, work gets duplicated, tasks fall through the cracks, employees assume someone else owns the work, everybody is pointing fingers, decision-making slows down because no one knows truly who is the ultimate decision maker, and then accountability becomes unclear. But with a RACI matrix, there is clear ownership. You're really defining who's responsible, who's accountable, who needs to remain informed, and who's consulted. There are fast decisions, better communication, increased accountability, and reduced operational bottlenecks. So if you do not know if you need a RACI matrix in your business today, here are some common signs you need, how you know you need a RACI matrix. So if somebody asks you, who owns this? There you go. You need a RACI. If multiple people are doing the same work, if projects are missing deadlines over and over and over and over again, approvals take too long, or approvals just don't get done at all. Customers receive inconsistent information. So if one project manager says it one way, another project manager says another way, but they both work on the same project, can be very confusing for a customer. Managers spend excessive time following up, meaning that if your manager or if a lead needs to continue to come in and follow up, that means there is no true ownership either. So to understand each role a little bit more granular, so responsible, letter R, these are the individuals who perform the work. So they are actually creating the reports as an example, processing the invoices, updating SOPs, completing onboarding tasks. Multiple people may be responsible. So that is okay. So if you have a project task where you may have Jane and Joe responsible for the same task, that is okay, because you may have two payroll accounts payable people doing the same role. That is okay. But you just need to know who owns what for which project or which customer when it comes down to the nitty-gritty details. Accountable, there's only one person that is accountable. So if I think about what we just talked about, payroll processing, you have Jane and Joe who are responsible, their manager would be accountable. So you can only have one person who's ultimately accountable and responsible for the successful completion. So this would be department managers, project sponsors, operations directors, as an example. Then we come down to consulted. So these are individuals providing expertise or input before the action actually occurs. So examples here would be HR, legal, finance, or IT. This is where communications happen two ways. While there's one person who's consulting, the other people are absorbing what they are receiving as feedback. And then informed, those are the individuals who are kept aware of progress or decisions. This is usually just at a high level, the leadership team, a CEO, C-level, department staff, stakeholders. The ones that are boots on the ground are the ones that are doing the work, are responsible and accountable. But then the ones overseeing a department or an organization overall, those would be informed. Okay, so I've got a RACI Matrix implementation timeline in front of me here on the screen. I'm going to work through how I would implement a RACI Matrix implementation timeline project. So there are 5 different phases that we are going to work through. And I want to walk through each one of them so you all are aware how you can implement this today and hopefully walk away with something that makes the most sense for your business. So phase number 1, step number 1 is identify the process. Okay, so when we're identifying the process, this is where you're determining which process needs role clarification. So examples here would be employee onboarding, accounts payable. Let me just fix the formatting real quick because that's going to bother me. And so this could be specifics, right? So in your department, on your team, within the business, it depends on how broad you want to go. Identify the process. So it could also be customer service. It could be procurement, project management. Some other example is even SOP development. So the questions that you need to ask here are, where is the confusion occurring? Which processes experience delays? What task lack ownership? So as you're building this out, a RACI then embeds into an SOP, a standard operating procedure. So while the RACI matrix may be overarching over an entire department, specific tasks are created within each process as well. So just keep that in mind as you're working through this, okay? So phase 2, you're going to list the process activities. So if you've already done this as part of an SOP, feel free to pull in that information as well so you don't feel like you're duplicating efforts. While I'm creating this kind of work and these timelines, there are things that you may have already worked on based off of other trainings that I've provided. So make sure that you're not duplicating efforts. If you feel like you've already done one of these tasks before, pull that in and save yourself some time there. So you're going to break the process into major activities. So example, if we're going to focus on employee onboarding, that will be the overall task. Within each one, you're going to have subtasks. So as an example, you'll have send offer letter. Then from there, you've got complete background check. From there, you've got create employee record in your HR system. Some of this may be automated. Sometimes things are manual. So if you've got things that are manual, you may want to add something here, a new column. I'm just going to use this as an example, process. And you can add a drop down as an example, manual or automated. So that way you know what is manual and what is being automated completed. Remember, with a send offer letter, it may be manual or it can be both, right? It could be where you generate something manually for it to be automated. So just keep that in mind as you're working through this as well to make sure that it's specific. Then you're going to set up a computer. So meaning that your IT department may be responsible for sending the details or the computer, the laptop, the equipment to the employee. So I'm going to add equipments. Schedule orientation. And this all needs to be determined within your SOP when all of this happens. And then you're going to do complete training. So that might be at a very high level, right? Here, so we did an employee onboarding. So the next one that you would work through is accounts payable. So identify the process, work through the process, list out the activities from start to finish. And if you don't know, pull in resources to help you get this done. Very helpful. You don't have to do this all by yourself unless you're a solopreneur working on your own, have your own business, and then that happens. Okay, so the next one is identify stakeholders. So this is extremely important to understand from the process activities who is responsible, right? Determine everyone who may be involved. So examples here would be HR, hiring manager, IT, finance, executive leadership, and the employee. Okay. And you can build this out per process that you have identified as well, if that's what ends up happening too. So if you say, okay, I'm going to work on employee onboarding, keeping it this way, just indent it and keep it all simple. Okay. Step number 4, you're going to assign the RACI roles. So you're going to assign an R, an A, a C, or an I. So you're going to ask for every single task, as an example, sending the offer letter, who does the work? So who does the work? Then from there, who's responsible, right? Who owns the result? That is the accountability. Who provides input is consulted. Who needs updates is informed. So if you have send letter, you would have a column that would be for responsible, for accountable, for consulted, for informed per stakeholder. Okay. So if you can do it that way, or you can have it where it's just the task. So send off a letter, and then you have HR, hiring manager, IT, finance, executive leadership, or employee. And then that's where you add the R, the A, the C, or the I, depending on which column. So you want to show everything. Again, one person is accountable, responsible, consulted, or informed, could have more than one person, but you want to spread it out. Okay. So I'm just going to write this as an example real quick. So what I just talked about. So sending the offer letter, we've got wrong color. So we've got, let's say this is a drop down. So we're going to go HR, hiring manager, IT, finance as an example. So I'm just using this as an example, but you're going to do something like this. So send offer letter. So from an accountable, responsible could be one person too, but HR is accountable and they're actually responsible for doing this. So you'll do an A and an R. Hiring manager would be consulted and informed. IT, it's really they just need to be informed that this happened. Okay, so from a timing perspective, especially when there's other tasks coming from a setup or sending the equipment, they need to know that an offer was sent out. So this gives you kind of an example of what that would look like from a RACI matrix perspective. So from there, you're going to assign the rules, right? So one responsible, one accountable, or you can have multiple responsible depending on the type of task. And you're going to work through each one of these tasks like this as well. So a couple things to recommend here. If you're by yourself as a solopreneur, while this may not seem like something you need today, think about the future. You're going to end up growing or scaling your business. So you want to start thinking about these tasks, these opportunities to scale towards that growth. So you don't want to wait until you get 10 employees as you're growing, because then you're going to backtrack and you don't have all of this set up. So think about it. While this might be time consuming now, it is something that if you implement now, down the road, a year, 5 years from now, if you're adding employees, you already have all of this documented. You already have all of your processes set up. You are already ready to hand this over to the next person so they know exactly what they're responsible for, what they're accountable for, who needs to be informed, who needs to be consulted. And then all you need to do is tweak it as you're growing. So that way it's already set and ready to go. Again, this is also documentation that you're going to have to review on a quarterly or annual basis just to stay up to date with the documentation. Because as your business grows, as your business changes, these processes may change as well. So from a workshop exercise perspective, think about the different scenarios. Where is your company struggling today? That's where you want to start, because that's where you're going to feel the pain. And this is where this is going to help you streamline and get yourself operationalized, organized, and remove that stress and overwhelm. So list the documentations too that you want to work through. List the activities like drafting an SOP, reviewing an SOP, approving an SOP, publishing an SOP. SOP stands for Standard Operating Procedures, which every company needs, big or small. Then make sure you're working through the stakeholders. Who's going to be the process owner? Who's going to be the department manager, operations manager, executive leadership? Assign RACI roles for each activity. If you do not know yet, leave it blank, come back to it as you're working through it. And then if you're by yourself, work through it, take your time to work through it. If you have a team, if you're a larger organization, discuss it as a group. Bring everyone in together. Don't do this by yourself, because if you do it, you may miss the mark on something. And guess what? Then it's not going to be implemented. It's not going to be used, and it's not going to be accepted by the group as well. So some of the common implementation mistakes is when there are too many people involved. Too many people involved to make decisions and work through it. It takes time, right? So take your time to work through this. Mistake number 2 is everyone is responsible. Not everyone can be responsible. Sending an offer letter, not everyone needs to be responsible. So really think through, what does right look like? Who should really be responsible for this? If you have Jane and Joe doing the same task today, the question should be, should Jane and Joe be doing these tasks together? Or can one really do it while the other one consults, or vice versa? Okay. Mistake number 3 is not updating the matrix. Big one. So as I mentioned, your business is going to keep evolving. You're still going to work through everything as things change. Keep up with it. So that way you have operational improvement. Then creating it, never using it. Don't waste your time creating it and then not implementing it. So make sure that as you're working through it, at the very end, once you assign the RACI, step number 5 would be to train everyone. Create the training, explain what the purpose is, what we're trying to accomplish, what the ultimate outcome is. So from a best practices perspective, again, review this quarterly, validate role assignments and for it to remain accurate. Include it during onboarding. So that way, when you are hiring somebody new who has never seen this before for your company, make sure they know where to find it, how to access it, and how to use it as well. Introduce it to new employees so the RACI structure starts from the start. Connect it to SOPs. Like I mentioned earlier, create the RACI matrices immediately after documenting those workflows. So if you have an SOP for onboarding, build it in there. This is the implementation timeline for RACI matrices specifically, but then this gets embedded into your standard operating procedure to have your entire document documented from start to finish. Then store it centrally. Maintain this within your SOP library, SharePoint, where everybody has access to it, Google Drive, if that's what you use, Smartsheet, or a process repertoire. Okay. Then measure success. This is a big one, especially for leaders. Track accountability. Are there any more missed deadlines? Are tasks completed? Are they delayed? Review the escalation frequency. If you have processes in place, guess what? Escalations will reduce. So if I look back at a project that I worked on over the last couple of years, putting processes in place for a department that did not have anything, started building out project timelines, projects specifically to tasks, adding and assigning owners and then setting those expectations up front, not only with internal stakeholders, but also customers and the team that we were working with. Over the course of the year, there was some change management that had to occur. People did not always adopt the changes right away, but as you started emphasizing the importance of following the process, those escalations started to reduce. The clients actually were more receptive to the feedback that you were providing. Internal stakeholders limited their amount of follow-ups as well. So over time, as a project team, you end up just doing the work that you're supposed to be doing and not feeling overwhelmed by cutting out fires left and right, escalations left and right, because we couldn't meet the deadlines. But now that these processes are in place, the team knows exactly what to do, what the standard timeline is. We know when a customer may have more complexity versus something a little bit more simple, where we can adjust accordingly. But those are discussions you can have early on and really drive that leadership from the beginning of a project all the way through the end and limit the escalations. So when I look at a timeline perspective to get this implemented, we're looking at about a 6-week turnaround. And that is just give or take, right? This is especially long when you are working by yourself. But if you're working with a team, this is expected because you're selecting the process and identifying the stakeholders in week 1, and that could take some time. Week 2, you're looking at documenting activities and building that RACI matrix. 3 is validating it with the stakeholders. Week 4 is implementing and training the teams. Week 5 is monitoring compliance and adjusting. And week 6 is reviewing the effectiveness and finalizing it to be able to really start owning it. So a few takeaways from this conversation here is know the responsibilities, know who needs to do the work, who owns it. From an accountability standpoint, know who owns the results. Consultation provides the expertise, information keeps stakeholders informed. Every task should have at least one accountable owner. Should have one accountable owner, could have at least one responsible. And a RACI matrix creates that clarity, accountability, and operational efficiency. And remember, if everyone owns it, no one owns it. And that's the truth. Okay. So make sure you spend the time with the team, with yourself to really define what this looks like, what it should be. And the more time you spend on it, the more you can fine tune it. Just like I say, you fine tune a guitar. Take the time, implement this, use the resources I have available. They are out there for you to be set up for success. I know too many people who do too much based off of memory. It impacts you when you go on vacation. It impacts you when you are spending time with your family. It impacts you even on the weekend where you cannot take your time away, your mind away from work when you want to spend time with your family. So spend the extra time putting these processes in place. It's going to save you time over time. Again, this is only a 6-week project. Start it, finish it, implement it. I cannot wait to see this improvement. I hope you were able to find at least one piece of information to implement today, or if not, hopefully more. I'll see you in the next conversation. Thank you for following the Optima method. Subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can see more videos be uploaded and for you to follow along.